ADHDers and allies. How is it going? It's me, ADHD Girl, bringing you the ADHD and Me podcast for this month's episode. We're looking at how ADHD affects biology. And to do that, we're going to be talking with a scientist who talks to us about how genetics and environmental factors can have a big impact. So joining me in our chat today, I have Rhiannon. She's going to talk to us about the science of ADHD and some of the things we can do with our own bodies that actually helps us to treat our ADHD. Welcome to the podcast, Rhiannon. I'm so excited to talk about this.
Yeah, me too. Thanks. I appreciate it.
No problem at all. So what's your background? How did you get into this? Because it's a bit of a niche area, but it's also quite an important area.
Yeah, so what I do is a mix of a few things, but how I got here is because of my children. This daughter was actually born missing part of her immune system, and we didn't know that until she was almost 2. And so she's had chronic health issues and conditions, and that's what led us to get the testing and diagnosis for the gene that I work with my clients now, known as MTHFR. And in that whole process, my daughter also been diagnosed with not only ADHD, but she's also been diagnosed with level 1 autism and general anxiety disorder on top of those things too, which we know the comorbidity of autism.
Yes, definitely.
And it all circles back to this gene and methylation. And so I'm excited to share that with you today. But that's the short version of how I got to do what I do now.
Wow. So you're like a parent who became really invested in this stuff as a way of helping your child.
Yeah. And the thing is, I used to be a science teacher. And so I'm not.
Oh, wow. So you're combining both specialties. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And I actually, since I was 12 years old, wanted to be a cytogeneticist. And then I worked in the genetics lab. And when I went to college, I just was like, I don't want to sit behind a microscope all day long. Like, I want to do something different. So I've created my own thing.
I love people who take their personal journeys and carve their own way, especially in the ADHD world, because that's so important.
We all are ADHDers and we tend to make our own path, right?
Yes.
Like, it's the best way forward for us.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about this gene, because I must admit, I do love science and I've got a naturally curious mind, but I'm not the best at it. I'd love to be because I think it's such an important subject, but unfortunately, I just don't think I have the kind of brain capacity for that. So can you explain it to me like in a bit of simple way so that I can understand it?
Yeah, definitely. MTHFR is the gene that I specialize in working with my clients, and it's very heavily connected to MTHFR, or to MTHFR, to ADHD and to autism. And it is connected to a process known as methylation in the body, which is also connected to detoxing. And so we've got all these little things that are cogs in the wheel, so to speak, and the cogs in the wheel are off balance. Things don't work the right way. And autism and ADHD are two of the well-known things that are connected to MTHFR, but there's over 200 processes and symptoms, quote unquote, if you will, that can be connected to MTHFR with that methylation process. So a lot of clients come to me, obviously, with ADHD, but they also come to me going, oh my gosh, I've got this brain fog. I have issues with fertility. I've got bloating. I've got migraines. I've got all these different things going on. And so we're able to peel back the layers of the onion and go, oh, that's curious. Let's look into that a little deeper. And so we do a big comprehensive genetic blueprint to determine what other genes, in addition to that, could be causing issues and how do those interplay, especially dopamine receptors for us ADHDers.
Yeah. It just sounds like there's so much to it. I wouldn't even know where to start. What are some of the things, really important things you've found out in terms of, is it helped you to understand how ADHD and autism can be treated better, or?
A lot of times it's just a deficiency in something, right? Symptoms. And so you'll see influencers, on TikTok and stuff like this, methylfolate, my brain is so quiet, I'm so focused.
Yeah, I've seen the thing about the mushroom gummies as well.
While there's things that can help support some people, it's not a one-size-fits-all.
No.
And so that's where it really comes down to, okay, we have to open our minds and broaden our approach to zoom out, to narrow in on the things that could be working against each other. And that includes your lifestyle, your diet, toxins, those types of things. All those all interplay in your body. But ADHD has the genetic root, but the genes are the blueprint. It just depends on how they're expressing based on that environment, based on the nutrition, based on stress. stress and toxin exposure. For instance, MTHFR is the body's ability to methylate. It's like a biochemical on-off switch, and it's compromised. So that affects the neurotransmitter production, our detox pathways, inflammation. If someone is not getting the bioavailable form of B12, which is what I'm talking about with those influencers, then it can cause or exacerbate those symptoms. However, some other people can't tolerate methylated vitamins. And so therefore, they have symptoms of anxiety and depression and suicidal tendencies and those types of things because it's just the wrong form for their body. And so that genetic blueprint is so pivotal because we can go, you're not a good candidate for this kind. Let's look over here at this other kind and you're more bioavailable. But here in the States, especially during pregnancy, they always push folic acid. And those of us with folic acid or with MTHFR can't process folic acid.
Wow.
So it builds up in our system and can cause other issues. And so it's just one of those things, like, you really need to get down to the nitty gritty. Figure out, like, are you absorbing things? What's the best optimal way for you to get those in? What's the best option based on your genes, your lifestyle, all those things? The poor impulsivity, the fatigue, the focus, all that can be an issue biochemically when those things are not working.
Yeah, this is so interesting because we don't look at ADHD from this perspective a lot of the time, do we? It's all to do with either the medication side or the social science side. It's not really talked about in terms of the actual science beyond medication. As you were talking there and saying all these kind of different kind of things that could be linked, I'm thinking, oh, that could be me. Because I get the brain fog and the inflammation and all that. So like that now you've already got me thinking, okay, what am I deficient in?
And the other thing too is like balancing hormones, right?
Oh yeah.
Especially for women, so balances. And that's why I work with women, right? Because women are the most known to have autoimmune issues because we're under the most stress.
Yeah.
Motherhood. People that have ADHD, it's going to affect their behavior. It's going to affect cognition. It's going to affect insulin, how you're gaining weight, all these things, that inflammation. And you could be eating really healthy. You could be taking your supplements and they may not be the right supplements for you. And they may not be the right foods for you even. And so really understanding that there's a lot of cogs in those wheels that come into play. And it's not just one or two things. And that's where I come in as the expert to go, let's get curious about this and look and see what else is going on in there.
No, I hadn't actually considered like the biological side of how my body works, which I know sounds silly because obviously the body is like all biology. But I think on a day-to-day basis, people don't think about that enough, do they? They don't think about what they're putting into their bodies. They don't think about their health. And I've been on a journey lately of losing weight. And one of the things that I found that's made a huge difference, which before I would have been the biggest critic and gone, oh, that's not going to make that much of a difference, is the gut bacteria yogurt.
Yep.
That has made a huge difference to me. It just goes to show, doesn't it? Some things small, like little lifestyle changes can make a big difference. It's just about finding the right one, isn't it?
And that's where I come in as the expert to help do that.
Yeah.
So you're running to Google, looking for all the different things. Try this. Let me try this.
And Google's a minefield. It comes up with everything.
Yes. And then you're burnt out because you're like, I'm not feeling better. I've tried this, all this money on supplements. Somebody said that this one worked really well for them and it made me feel like terrible. It's just one of those things that you have to have like a hand holding, right? Like the goals, this is the outcome I'm looking to achieve, and how does all the things that I'm doing play into that? As women, especially like weight loss, depending on our hormone shifting, depending on our toxins, all of those different things. But a lot of times, especially for us mutants, as I call us with MTHFR, it's just inflammation.
Yeah.
And so I've had people that they've been on medications such as like antihistamines and depression and medications and blood pressure stuff for years, and they're having trouble losing weight. What we found is they've got some histamine issues, and so they get off all the medications, and then they've lost 55 pounds because we've reduced that inflammation. So the diet plays such a huge factor, and you can eat healthy, but some foods can be triggering other inflammation, just like working out, right? Some people are like, oh, I do HIIT and it's great, and I'm like, you're overworking out based on your genes, and so therefore it's causing more inflammation.
I've never liked it.
So there's a lot that goes into it, and it's not just a let's just try this and see how it goes. It's genes are telling us that this is the best option for you. Let's try that.
Yeah, definitely. Because the problem with ADHD is there's so much trial and error, particularly beyond the medication. I'm not knocking medication. It's fantastic and it works well for a lot of people, but there's got to be alternatives. There's got to be things that we're doing alongside so that we're not just becoming over reliant on that medication. And that's really been highlighted via the medication shortage that happened recently for ADHD.
Absolutely.
So what's your kind of process then? So somebody approaches you with ADHD. Obviously, it's probably going to sound like very difficult to explain it to somebody who doesn't really know. But
Right.
how do you begin? Do you start asking them questions about their lifestyle? Or is that kind of like a general basis of where to go from there?
Yeah. Really getting to know what lifestyle choices that they are making. So how often they're on a screen. What foods are they consuming on a regular basis? Do they do anything for stress reduction? What is the toxic load like for them? What types of foods are you eating that could be enriched or fortified? Because if you have MTHFR and that folic acid and you're consuming it in pastas or breads or whatever, things like that can be causing some issues and causing more brain fog. And so really just asking those questions, but then also everyone I work with gets that genetic blueprint. That is what we build the foundation for your care and progress is to be like, okay, we're going to change your diet. We're going to do these things. We're going to switch this up. And we go through these different phases. But I think the other big thing most people don't talk about and take for granted is nervous system regulation.
Yeah.
And as ADHDers, we need to really focus on
yeah.
and slowing down because we need to go.
We get the guilt as well, because unfortunately, I don't know if it's the same in America, but in this country, it's all rush and you've got to get everything done. And it's really hard not to buy into that on a day-to-day basis, not just as an ADHD, but just as a normal person who lives in society.
Yep, absolutely. And so I have actually created like one of the big hangups, what I have found from feedback of working with clients is the kitchen is such a hard place, right? Because there's steps in the kitchen to maintain and run a kitchen, have that food cycle, right? So let's say you're getting ready for the week, you're planning your meals, that takes multiple steps. That's hard for ADHDers, right? Then you've got to go shopping. That's a whole nother step. Then you got to come home and unpack the things. Then you got to get all the dead food that's already, reached its date. You forgot about.
There's nothing as stressful as coming home from the shopping, getting ready to put everything away, and then seeing that you've got a load of stuff that needs to go in the bin.
And it's all rot, like, because you forgot that it existed.
Yeah, right.
And so the cycle of that in itself is stressful to a lot of people because it teaches you the step by step, like before you go shopping and make the list, clean out the fridge so you have containers when you come home. Right? Then make the list, then do the shopping. But I tend to do grocery delivery here in the States as much as possible. So that way I can just load it up and push play and it's delivered to my door.
Yeah.
Because with ADHD, it's, ooh, shiny candy.
Yeah. And I'll just get this and I'll just get that. And then you convince yourself and then you spend like hundreds and hundreds of dollars later or pounds.
Yep, exactly. And the other thing too is you make better choices when you're not hungry and you're
I go for lunch before I go shopping.
And so you can do those things and just like mentally make through that process, then it's a lot easier to manage a kitchen, right? So when you get home, you can soak the fruit and wash it off and prep it for the week. So you're not being a scavenger ADHDer, right? And just going what's available and easy and just stuffing your face with it. Instead, you have portioned fruit out or you've got clean stuff so you can eat it and be like, oh, okay, I've got that ready. I can eat that. And things that are prepared that are healthy options because if you eat bagged stuff, it's not going to give you really any nutritional value.
Yeah.
You need a lot of protein, especially as women and especially as ADHDers.
Yes. My diet is like high protein, like low calorie at the moment.
Yep. And that's the best thing to do, right? And so making sure you're getting that protein in as well as an ADHD first thing in the morning is so important. And then making sure you're getting those meals throughout the day to continue your brain function because we do tend to burn those chemicals faster. And so especially if we're doing a lot of like mental work and then you're hyper focused.
We use mental energy a lot more, I feel, as well.
Yes. It makes you feel exhausted when your brain's tired.
Yeah.
So I start with that. I've got a free thing that people can opt into to do this like kitchen challenge.
And then good.
And they have this little mini program called ADHD Brain Food. And with that, it goes through the different like food options and things to avoid, things to eat, and add into your diet. So that way it helps support your brain fooders, getting that all those happy chemicals that you need, because your gut and your brain are connected, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned that with your gut, like how that's helping you. If you've got a leaky gut, you probably have a leaky brain.
Probably.
Yeah, so you want to make sure that your gut is healthy, and that's going to affect that brain fog that you're talking about. And certain foods are highly inflammatory, certain oils, right? And so really knowing what the diet looks like. But with that genetic blueprint, we can also go, based on these genes, I think we should do some additional testing in these areas to see if that's a factor right now, or if it could be something else. Really just gives us a launching point in many directions of how to.
What's amazing is like what you're talking about is a really great path like for wellness. I feel in general, even for people maybe who don't have ADHD, like it's all about looking at the factors of what's going on in your body. And I don't know whether it's the same in the States, but in the UK, this stuff isn't really taught in schools. Obviously, it's taught these are the healthy foods, these are the not so healthy foods. But beyond that, there's nothing about really thinking about the things you're putting into your body and like what you're basically talking about.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like the saying is food is either poison or it's medicine.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you're eating something, now it's not to say I don't enjoy me some organic chips, okay?
Right.
I'm not like a crazy person that like super strict with stuff too, because it's like you can't live.
No.
But I know that I can't do artificial dyes because they make me really ragey. And I know that I don't do artificial sweeteners. Like I have my limits of the hard pass, not doing that. Some chips that are organic, and the blue corn chips are my favorite.
You're making me feel like I need to start a food diary and see which food are huge triggers for me. Because I feel like sometimes I think that this is obviously to do with ADHD, but I can sometimes go from 0 to 100 like very quickly. And I'm thinking, what food could be causing that?
100%. I agree with you on that. And the reason I say that is because before my journey started with all this, son was very aggressive. Like he would do like 3 or 4. And to the point where he would sit on his sister and just beat her up. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Why like this? Like you're not seeing this at home. This isn't something you're seeing at school. And at that time, at 18 months old, his Montessori teachers were like, he can't focus. Like he's got this. And I'm like, okay, but the aggression thing was getting out of hand. So we did some food sensitivity testing on him, and we removed dyes, we removed sweeteners, and within 2 weeks, this kid was a completely gentle.
Wow. This goes to show, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so it's just one of those things. It's like every client also does a food journal. Every single, when I work one-on-one with them, is that's going to show us like, could this be a histamine response that's causing you to act this way, or causing brain fog or dizziness or migraines or whatever? People come to me like, I eat healthy. And then I look at their food journal. I'm like, I'm seeing a pattern with
processed foods.
Yeah, that too. But even like natural foods, like bananas, for example, or eggs, it just really depends on the person's body and how they're responding. And
so what's healthy to one person isn't necessarily healthy to another. And that's something else they don't teach in school. I really feel like this should be a lesson, because what's more important about learning about how your body functions, and particularly with ADHD, learning ways to help yourself.
Absolutely. And we are the best advocate for ourselves. And the more we can become educated and empowered with how we can support our own bodies, then we can not have to be in the doctor's office all the time, not have to be on medication if that's something we choose, and really understand and listen to our bodies and how it's responding to certain triggers, whether that be stress or food, whatever that may be.
Yeah. So do you think in terms of medication, are you on the fence about it? Do you think it's just masking some like symptoms that are going on? And do you think that there's obviously better alternatives, or do you think it's just everything in kind of moderation?
I think personally that ADHD is a very complex discussion because it is biologically and genetically geared, right? Also environmentally. With trauma, have symptoms of ADHD that may not genetically be predisposed to it. And so there's a lot of kind of inner workings that correspond with ADHD, right? I feel like, in my personal opinion, we never do medication. That's something my kids are like, we don't want that. We are learning how to manage that and work with that. We eat clean. We do these things. Even still, some days we call them bad brain days. That just happens, right? Like we're human. We didn't sleep well. We didn't get enough water. We didn't get enough sunlight like a plant outside, worshiping the sun, whatever that may be. But as far as it goes, it does definitely mask symptoms, right? Medication does. It's like covering up some things. I'm seeing in my mind right now, like throwing a blanket over plants, right? Like it's just covering things up, but it's like allowing some other things to be seen and work around. There's a lot of different things that you can do to support that neurodivergence if you know the right things. Do you need supplements for serotonin? Do you need to modify your diet and remove dyes? Like there's a lot of different things that come into play, but I will always say, especially here in the States, I don't know how it is there, but here in the States, when most people remove dairy and gluten from their diet, they notice a huge relief in the symptoms.
Wow, that's really interesting because I noticed a big difference when I removed gluten from my diet because it used to manifest itself in my eczema.
Yep.
I'd have flare-ups, and now my eczema's under control. I'm experiencing some more gut sensitivity, which is why I got the yogurts.
Yep.
So yeah, it just goes to show it's all linked, isn't it?
Yeah. And the thing is, and I was talking to somebody about this morning, like she has Crohn's disease and she was like, I didn't even know. I just had gut aches since I was like 12 years old. And I told her, I said, I feel like with those types of quote unquote diagnoses of IBS or Crohn's, generic label, we don't know how to fix this. And it all comes down to the gut. Like I said, like gut is going to be tied to that eczema. The gut's going to be tied to the brain fog. And you'll go to a GI specialist and they are only looking at your gastrointestinal tract. They're not looking at you as a whole human, your stress levels and your toxic load and your nervous system regulation. They don't look at that. They just simply look at like, blinders on, here's one area you focus on. And while that's good in some instances, it's not always the best. So medication is a personal choice and conversation for everybody. But like I said, again, there's a lot of factors and dietarily, especially with dairy and gluten, that can be linked to anxiety. And a lot of us ADHDers also struggle with anxiety.
Yeah.
That's tied as well to MTHFR. That's also tied to our gut health. There's so many different factors that overlap with what I do in conjunction with ADHD, but dietarily, people definitely notice the difference when we start making changes.
I really don't want to get political because I try to keep politics out of everything, but obviously the big difference in terms of healthcare for the UK and the States is that obviously you guys, unless you have private healthcare, you have to pay. Do you think that has an impact on people seeking further support for ADHD or for their gut or for their bodies?
100%. Everybody that's come to me has seen other practitioners. They've gone through the process. They're like, nothing is working. The lady had mentioned that had lost 55 pounds. She'd been working with another practitioner for 9 months. And we uncovered some histamine issues for her with mast cell and how that was affecting her and all these different things, right? And people just go with the blinders on. And they've gotten tired of that option because especially here in the States, just don't really think bigger or look or do research or be minded. Then that's when they find me and they're like, okay, you're the person I've been looking for. I'm ready to do this. What do I have to do? So,
yes, though, like, despite the systems being like very different in terms of how they're funded, I feel like it's the same kind of issue in the UK that we go to the doctor, and because obviously there's not much more known about ADHD beyond, the medication has the biggest impact. People who go to the doctor for ADHD, it's literally, like you said, they don't look beyond anything. It's just, do you want to be medicated? No, off you go then, because I can't help you.
Yeah, and it's almost like when you go to the doctor and they're like, lose weight, and you're like, how? And they're like, eat less. They don't really understand active food, which is so crazy in my mind because it's you, and I don't know about there, but they have
doctor.
Yeah, the food pyramid, eat these foods. And really, that's not how it should be at all. You want to have more protein, especially and fiber and green leafy vegetables and all those different things. But they just don't understand how food impacts the body. And they're just like, lose weight, that's cool. But how do I do that? And some people really struggle, which is why all those magic medicines right now out there and people are rushing to them when if they just understood how their body functioned at a genetic level, options that they had to be able to lose weight more effectively, hormonal imbalances, those types of things, then they would see results. But a lot of times people will get a medication for the thing like weight loss, and then it'll come back and they'll still have the same problems and they'll never learn how to properly care for themselves. Keep that.
That's something society doesn't teach, even to people without ADHD. They're not obviously they pay lip service to it. Oh, make sure you give yourself time. Make sure you work on your mental health. But they don't actually give you good practical tips like for how to do that, like how to give yourself space and mindset.
Yeah. And that's really a huge focus of what I do with my practice, nervous system regulation. I've got a form each week that when I meet with clients, it's like, what was your nervous system like the last 2 weeks? Did anything come up that was super stressful that could have triggered something or set you back? Knowing those types of things is so important because if you're constantly stuck in fight or flight, your brain's going to be
Wow.
you're going to be burning those chemicals faster. And I have a client that did the genetic blueprint. She said it's like a burning sensation in her head. And it was like she'd have these episodes and she would go to a neurologist. Neurologists just want to give her medication. They said it was a seizure. She said, I'm not seizing. Like my brain just feels like it's tingling on fire and her extremities, like her arms would just go numb. What we found with that is she was burning certain chemicals in her brain too quickly and it was building up excess ammonia.
Wow.
So think about it as exhaust in your brain. Like your brain's just like misfiring because it's just overloaded and short.
Scary.
And she also has ADHD, and these types of things. So it's just like she literally sat there on this call with me bawling because she finally had an answer of why her brain was doing the thing that it did.
Right. And that's so empowering to people to get those kind of answers as well.
Yep, absolutely. It's sad. That's the state of people's healthcare because doctors don't know how to look at that and examine it. And
it's not a holistic kind of approach, is it? It's just a one focus approach and it tends to be medication.
Yep. And that's what I do is the holistic whole body. Let's really all that. And every session too, we work on nervous system regulation. Let's ground, let's breathe. Like here's different options. And for us ADHDers, we hear a lot, do the Pomodoro method, do this thing. And that's great. If it worked, I would do it, but it's not. So let me find a different option. So I partner also with other practitioners that do different types of things like music therapy and those types of things. So then that way they can figure out how to regulate their nervous system with other ways because different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. Like even people with ADHD can be very different from each other, but we're treated like one glove fits all in terms of, okay, here's medication. This is what you are like. This is how you will respond. And it's actually, no, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's being willing to try to implement those skills and you're going to fall off and knowing that you're going to fall off. And that's why I tell my clients, like, when I'm done with you, I want you to have resources that you can come back to because you're going to fall off. That's life. I want you to be able to come back to yourself and be like, I'm off. I need to reset myself and take
it's just checking in with yourself, isn't it?
Yep. Absolutely.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I love it. Like, I wish more people would take such a holistic approach to ADHD. So if people want to check out your stuff, like you were saying about this challenge and thing, where can they find out more information about that? Because I think so many people are going to be interested.
Working on an email version of that right now. I just have it through a text platform to do that. So depending on where everybody's listening from, they can definitely text in for that. And I can get you that info for the show notes that you can put on there. But you can go to my website at revitalizing-wellness.com. Learn more about the genetic testing. You can see I have what's called right now, I have it called as the Mom Collective, and it's the ADHD group coaching. And so with that, you get the community, the support, like other moms that are struggling and just trying to figure out life and do it together. So
that sounds amazing. I feel like everyone needs to go and check out your website and be empowered by the information that's on there because this is such important stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining me. I feel like we could talk another hour or so about this stuff because it's so interesting and it's so relevant and so important. But thank you so much for coming on and I hope to speak to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It was interesting to hear more about the biological side of ADHD, as we don't get that too much in the ADHD community. ADHD is usually only approached through a medical perspective, i.e. medication, or the social sciences, i.e. psychology, which is probably part of the problem when it comes to addressing misconceptions. We need to look at it from all angles to understand how it can affect an individual and those around them. And so, podcast listeners, I have some news to share. I started the ADHD Me podcast 21 months ago, and in that time, we've done 23 episodes and welcomed 26 podcast guests. I really hope it's gone some way to address misconceptions, spread awareness, and just give some personal insight into what it's like to live with ADHD on a daily basis. As an ADHDer myself, I'm sure you're aware that we can often spread ourselves a bit thin when it comes to taking on so much. So while I won't be ending the ADHD and Me podcast, I will be taking a bit of a hiatus. Don't worry, all old episodes will still be available online and ready to listen to at any time. There just won't be any more new content in a while. While I know it's only a monthly 30-minute podcast, the time I put in behind the scenes to get it to a finished product is a lot. Don't worry, ADHD and Me itself isn't going anywhere, and the fortnightly blog articles will continue as normal. I'm just giving myself a bit of grace and room to grow, which is so important when you have ADHD. Till we meet again, ADHDs and allies, take care and keep spreading awareness. For updates regarding when the podcast will start back up, you can keep an eye on that at adhdandme.org.